Hi, welcome to Vegetables Day 145. And it is Topic Tuesday. Talk about it Tuesday, whichever one you prefer. And what I want to talk about today is my experience of dealing with my mother who has dementia. And just my experience so that, hopefully it can help someone else who may have a parent or loved one that is beginning to show signs of dementia, so that they can, maybe understand what to expect. So, when it comes to my mom, she has Parkinson's with dementia, and Parkinson's disease and dementia commonly and typically go hand in hand, because whatever happens in the brain that causes the movement issues, it also can affect the area of the part of the brain that affects other areas such as speech, memory, cognition. So just a little bit of background. When I gave my 5 tips to make the transition of the care of a loved one to you, one of the things I mentioned is, to make sure that you get involved early, daily, and with your loved one or parent, and also start going to doctor's appointments, spend a lot more one-on-one time rather than just on the phone calls. And the reason I say that is because you don't want to get caught off guard and have something major happen, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening and I need help and I need to get this taken care of. And it's very, 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 very stressful. One of my friends right now is going through that with her parents. That her dad was taking care of her mom, and she didn't realize how much care her mother needed. And so now her dad is not able, no longer able to take care of her mom, so now she has to go through a lot of stress, and she's got a lot to learn over the next few weeks. And so, my reason for beginning to discuss these things is because it does help your health, so that you don't get all this dumped on you at once and you're not in total shock. That you can hopefully have a lot of these things happen gradually rather than boop. So what have I dealt with personally? Well, just to give you a little bit of background on my mom, I typically would keep in touch with her practically every day for at least the last 20 years. She would go to work, and as soon as she came home from work, and after I had dinner, we would, spend an hour or two practically every day talking on the phone. And she would tell me everything, and I would tell her everything. But but she also had an issue with drinking. As soon as she came home from work every day, she would start drinking, and she would probably have at least minimum of a 6-pack per night. And then on the weekend, she would probably have a 12-pack per day. So a 24-pack for the whole weekend. And so the difficulties that she started having, I thought it was just her hearing. And she says that she couldn't understand what I was saying, so I'd have to repeat myself. Then she couldn't understand the words, so I would have to spell the words for her. And it just became increasingly difficult to talk to her on the phone. And, I thought that it was the drinking. And then, my sister moved in, and with the encouragement of my sister, she did, because my sister could not drink because she was on probation. My mom did stop drinking. But at that point, I began to realize that a lot of the difficulties I was having was not the drinking directly. I thought that maybe the drinking is what caused it, and it very well still could be that, the drinking that she had done for all those years did cause deterioration of her brain. I'm sure that it did. But she also, when she retired, then she did. She stopped drinking right about the same time that she retired. And within a few months of her retiring, she started getting sciatica real bad. So we surmised that alcohol was dulling her pain, and she didn't realize that's what she was doing. So she wasn't taking alcohol anymore, but she was taking narcotics, and next thing we know, she's addicted to the narcotics. And so I thought, well, okay, now her cognitive issues are because of the narcotics. We got her off those, and she was still having problems. It was at that point then that, scary. My sister was living with her, but didn't see, for whatever reason, couldn't see what was going on. But before I knew it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something seriously wrong here. She became noticeably more argumentative. She began, reminiscing a lot more, and I didn't think anything of it at first until I started going over to her house and spending time with her, because my sister said that, I can't handle this anymore. I can't take care of this. And that's when I stepped in and said, let me help you out, especially with finances, because accounts were getting overdrawn, bills weren't getting paid. And so then, I finally stepped in and said, hey, whoa, wait a minute, let's see what's going on here. And so I started spending more time with her, and that's when I did begin to realize that despite not being able to tell it over the phone, talking to her on the phone, in her, little snippets of conversation, she was able to carry those on just fine. But when you look at the whole big picture, that's when I began to see that, she's not doing so hot. That was a couple of years ago. But despite being on medication that's supposedly supposed to slow the progression, it is still progressing. And what I'm experiencing now is just her rigidity in thinking. Also, her inability to understand pronouns. Her inability to be able to quickly piece different items of something together into a complete thought or a complete thought process. Okay, so I just wanted to jump in here real quick because while I was editing the video, I realized that I mentioned my mother's difficulties with pronouns. But I wanted to expand on that a little bit to explain what I mean. She has a very difficult time following conversations that use a lot of pronouns. Because if you say she, she'll ask, even though you're only talking about one person, she will ask, who is she? If you were talking about one object and you use the word it, she'll say, well, what is it? So instead of saying something like, my grandson talked to his teacher and she told him that he needs to open the cabinet farther so that it's easier for him to get stuff out of the cabinet. If you followed along, you would be able to understand that she referred to my grandson's teacher. And every time I would use the word him, instead of saying him, I would have to insert either the words my grandson, or I would have to use my grandson's name. So let's say my grandson is named Bob. I would say my grandson Bob was told by his teacher that Bob needs to open the cabinet wider. And my grandson's teacher explained that if Bob opens the cabinet wider, then Bob will be able to access everything that's in the cabinet more easily. So as you can see in my second example, I did not use any pronouns. Now she understands you. Like if I am talking to her, she understands I. And if I refer to her as you, she understands that. She understands my and yours, your. So anything related to, the person that's talking to her and referring to themselves with her, but are talking about her and using pronouns referring to her, she's fine with. But if you bring in a third person into the conversation, then she gets confused. See, there again, she. Then I would have to say something along the lines, then my mom gets confused as to who she is, even though I was just talking about my sister. She can't understand the relationship that her is or was referring to my sister. The denial. I mean, she says that she has dementia. Oh yeah, I have dementia. But she doesn't quite understand what all dementia is. That she thinks it's just that she can't remember things. But it's not that she can't remember things. It goes beyond that. And it goes into how do I want to say this? It goes into not being able to understand the whole processes, but also not accepting the fact that she really does need me to take care of things for her without them getting all messed up. So, let me just give you a couple of examples that I have experienced in the last couple of days. And, this hopefully will help you understand, why it's important to get this, get involved in their lives much earlier, so that they can more quickly get used to losing that control. You can ease into it gradually instead of, can't do it no more, because they just don't adjust that well. But what I've experienced the last couple of days, the first one is that one of the nurses at her assisted living facility mentioned something about one of her medications not being supplied by her current pharmacy. And so Mom made the comment, well, I guess we'll just have to get it from this drugstore. And the nurse says, yeah, I guess so. So Mom proceeds to call this other drugstore. Well, come to find out, that drugstore had closed and had transferred everything to another pharmacy. And I won't name names here just because one will get too complicated into, just for privacy purposes. However, so she proceeded at this new pharmacy to try and order her medication herself. Well, the pharmacy needed a prescription from her doctor. And Mom knew who her doctor was. But she didn't have the doctor's phone number. She had the doctor's fax number because I had written it down in her book. But she didn't have the doctor's phone number. And even though she has a smartphone to where she can, she has an iPhone, to where she can, look up any information that she needs. It's all at her fingertips. She doesn't have the mental capability to say, oh, hey, wait a minute, let's look this up, while she was on the phone with this pharmacy. So she gave him the fax number, told him the medicine. But the problem is that she gave them because she's got the one name, it's a 2-part medicine. So she had the one name stuck in her head, but forgot to tell the newest pharmacy that it also included this other ingredient. So then the pharmacy proceeded to contact her doctor's office and request a prescription for it so that they could deliver it. On top of that, Mom thought that she wasn't getting the medicine on a daily basis anymore and that she was out. So then after all this has happened, then she tells me nothing from her assisted living facility, no contact to me whatsoever about this problem they run into. The only reason I know is from what Mom has told me. Of course, this new pharmacy is not a place that I would bother or want to go get this medicine from. So, no contact from the facility. Now, the facility may be working on it themselves. And the nurse that mom talked to may not have had all the information and just opened her mouth. So I wrote a letter to the director. Haven't heard from her either. So I'm getting a little discouraged. But what I ended up having to do is I had to call her, first of all, call the pharmacy her current pharmacy that supplies her other medications and says, hey, wait a minute. The nurse told my mom this. And of course it could have been nurse told mom something totally different. And mom didn't quite understand what she was saying. And so I called the current pharmacy. Current pharmacy says, no, we're still providing that medicine. And in fact, we sent a 30-day supply on, I don't know, May 4th, something like that. So she just has a 30-day supply, which means she'll have it till the beginning of June. And then they have it scheduled that they're going to send it in June. And there's nothing to indicate that they were going to stop carrying that medication. So then I call the newest pharmacy. And they did get communication from, or a script or whatever, from the doctor's office. But it was only for that first medicine, not the combined medicine. Which the doctor's office, in her chart, had the correct medicine. With both parts. So, no phone call from the assisted living facility. No phone call from the new pharmacy. But that's because instead of mom mom knows that I'm her healthcare power of attorney. And instead of mom giving them, the new pharmacy, my phone number, she gave them her phone number. Mom did not give her any kind of method of payment, thankfully, so they didn't ship out the wrong medicine. But no phone call from the pharmacy, no phone call from the doctor's office. So now, I have had to spend several hours of my time reaching out to 2 pharmacies, a doctor's office, and the living facility. Whereas, if the assisted living facility would have just called me, I would have been able to take care of it in a few minutes to get everything straightened out and be done with it. But the thing that aggravates me the most, and I'm definitely going to get on the living facilities butt, because I had just talked to one of the nurses the day before, on the phone, the day before, about another medicine. So I'm not doing this, to complain. Don't take it that way. I'm just trying to express or stress the importance of making sure that you keep, if you decide to take over the care of a loved one, that you understand, that you have some insight into what you might experience and what to expect when dealing with someone that does have dementia. The other thing that I run into is the rigidity of thinking. My example for that is Mom always orders flowers for her sister's grave and for Memorial Day. And this is this is only the second Memorial Day since her brother passed as well. So she wanted to put flowers on his grave. But she didn't want to put it on her sister's grave because she thinks that there's going to be people visiting her brother's grave, but nobody's going to visit her sister's grave. I'm like, well, if there's going to be other people, whether it be friends or family, there's still going to be other people that that visit other loved ones in the cemetery. And so it would be nice to be, even if it's somebody we don't know, for them to be able to look over at your sister's grave. And it's actually her sister, her mother, and her father. They're all three buried there together, and she's going to be there once she passes as well. But it's, if somebody else goes there, it's nice to be able to see other people, to see that these people aren't forgotten. And it's probably a tradition that I will try to continue. So one way or another, once she's gone, is to make sure that both graves have some kind of floral arrangement for Memorial Day. Or whatever day. But so, she was just going to just get one for her brother. And it took me a little bit of convincing that, yes, go ahead. You have the money. Get one for each of them. So she finally did that, and she was able to call the local florist that she's been dealing with for years and order the bouquets. And she contacted me today and said that the floral shop had asked for my email address. And I didn't want to give her the email address for the channel, which is, vegetables, VEGETABOHLS @gmail.com. Because I want that, want to use that email just for contacts related to this channel. The same thing with my Angie B's House channel. That email address is info.angiebshouse@gmail.com. I didn't want to give her those because, I want them specifically for emails related to the channels. And I tried to explain to her to just, she knows I have access to her email on my phone. I told her, I said, just give her your email address, because if the flower shop sends it to mine, it's probably going to get lost. So you can send it to your email, I can see it, and then do with it whatever I want at that point. And she kept coming back with me, well, I know my email address, but they don't want my email address. And it's just that because of the dementia, she just gets something in her head and then is so inflexible that you can't convince her otherwise. Urinary incontinence, her protection. She does not like the feel of the protection that she needs to wear. So she will choose a lighter version of the protection, and then she wets herself. And so I tried to explain to her that the reason that the protection leaks is because it's full and overflowing. Well, no, and she's like arguing with me that no, that's not the case, because I had a bigger one, it did the same thing. But she just could not understand that I don't want to say this. She just could not get over the fact that she absolutely was not going to wear heavier protection, even though her continence requires it. And it finally just came down to, don't argue with me, just do what I ask. So, my tip in this situation is, if your loved one does get to a point where they're refusing to do something that they need to do, that you know they need to do, you need to try to research other alternatives that will accomplish your best. I mean, sometimes that's not always able to be done. But try to find, something that will accomplish both of your goals. One, that she wears protection enough that she's not leaking through her clothes, but also one that's not going to be super bulky. So I found some leak-proof underwear that's supposed to hold like a half a cup of liquid or a whole cup of liquid or something like that. I think it's a cup and a half actually of liquid. And so that she, at least at the point where she's at right now, that'll at least help her keep dry. So those are some of the things that that I'm dealing with. That if and when you decide to take over the care of a loved one, that you too might run into. Trying to get her to wash her hair. She needs to wash it 3 times a week, and she won't do it. And the other, with the inflexibility, even though I have a lot of experience medically, if I tell her something, she's like, well, is that your opinion? And I'm like, no, it's my experience, or no, it's what I read. Oh, well, we'll ask the doctor and see what the doctor says. Or we'll ask the nurse and see what the nurse says. And, yeah. So, I know it's kind of a long video and a lot of explanation, but I hope that you find it useful. Just kind of, it's more or less kind of just a heads up. But also, if you're currently in this situation, if you're experiencing something similar, I'd like, and you want to share that, please put it in the comments. It'd be really refreshing to know, that I am not the only one experiencing this. I mean, I know I'm not, but to actually, have someone reach out to me and share their experience, it is reassuring to me. And also, I won't say encouraging, but it does help me have more patience with her if I know that there's someone else out there struggling with the same things. And of course, if you're struggling with the same things and there's solutions that you have found, let me know. What have you done to resolve some of these issues? Also, give me that thumbs up. If you find the video helpful, give me a thumbs up. Share it. If you think it would help somebody else, share it. Subscribe to my channel. I did get another subscriber, so I'm now at 11, but I need more. And then hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload the video every day. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you tomorrow for Weigh-In Wednesday, where I'll be not only weighing in on the scale, but also weighing in on what happened at my foot doctor. Bet you can't wait to hear that so I can quit complaining about it. But seriously, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.